For the Sleepy Bear hat and blanket, you're going to need your 6mm crochet hook, as well as a pair of scissors. If you're going to use a pom-pom maker, I used my pom-pom maker by Clover. I prefer to use my embroidery scissors if I'm making pom-poms, because it fits easier when you're cutting. And then also you're going to need a tapestry needle. For the hat, I used I Love This Cotton, which is 97% cotton and 3% metallic polyester. Here's some more information on the yarn. I used Aqua Sparkle, and I also used a pink sparkle of the same style of yarn, and you only need one skein of these, whatever color you choose for the hat. Now for the hat, you're just going to take whatever color yarn that you want for your hat. You're going to take the yarn and just fold it over on itself to form a loop, and then take your crochet hook, and I'm using my J or 6mm crochet hook. Then you're just going to take and hold the base of the crochet hook with your middle finger and your thumb, and then you're just going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through the loop, and then just cinch the knot around your crochet hook. Then you're going to make a chain. I'm just going to show you 4 of them, but you're going to finish 25 chains. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for 1 chain, 2 chains, 3, 4. Go ahead, finish 25 chains, and then come back. You should have finished 25 chains. Then just take your middle finger and thumb and hold that last stitch that you made and make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding. Go ahead and yarn over, then go into that 4th chain from the hook, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 of the loops, 2 loops remaining, yarn over and go through the remaining 2, and you completed a double crochet. Now you're going to make 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. So you just yarn over, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, complete your double crochet. I'll make 1 more with you. Then you can go ahead, finish making 1 double crochet in every stitch back across, and then come back. This is how your work should look so far. Now you're just going to take your work and fold it in half. Make sure that you don't twist it. Then you're going to go into the top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. So you take your crochet hook, go into the top stitch. Let me just show you with my tapestry needle, and again make sure that you don't twist the circle. This is going to be the brim of your sleepy hat. So here you can see, let me just find it, here we go. So this is your first chain, here is your middle or second chain, and then you have your 3rd chain of the first chain 3 that we made. So we're going to go into that top stitch with our crochet hook to make a slip stitch. So you just take your crochet hook, go into that top stitch of that first chain 3 that we made, and as you can see, I didn't twist my work. So you don't want to twist it because it's going to be, you want it to be even for the brim of the hat. Then you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through both loops for a slip stitch. Then just lay your work down and take that loose yarn end at the bottom, put it onto your tapestry needle, and then you're going to join the bottom. So you go into that bottom stitch on the opposite side with your tapestry needle, and then you just join the bottom, and then you form a complete circle or brim of the hat. Then just take and tie a knot. I go right back to the opposite side and pull it together. Make sure that you don't have a gap there, and then you can tie a knot. I like to go twice. And then you can just leave the loose yarn end for burying later, and then you can see how you joined into a circle the brim of the hat. Now we're going to make the opening for the ear of the bear. Now you're going to make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then just make sure that your work is facing you, so you have the right side facing you. Then you're going to take and skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches and make a single crochet into the 6th stitch. So you bring up a loop, yarn over and go through both loops for a single crochet. And then you see how you made an opening for the ear to fit through. Now you're going to start making trinity stitches. And we're going to make 6 rounds of trinity stitches. So when you get to the beginning, come back and I'll show you how to continue working in rounds, making your trinity stitches. But I'm going to show you how to make a trinity stitch. The first thing you're going to do is go back into the same stitch that you just made the single crochet, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through all 4, then make a chain of 1, and you finished your first trinity stitch. I'm going to show you one more. Go into the same stitch that you just finished your trinity stitch in, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over, go through all 4, and then chain 1. And you can see how you're making your trinity stitches. So I'll make just one more with you just to make sure you've got it. You go into the same stitch that you just finished your trinity stitch, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over, go through all 4, and then chain 1. And it's that simple. So go ahead, finish making your trinity stitches all the way around back to the beginning, and then come back and I'll show you how to continue working in rounds. So now I'm back to the beginning, and I'm just going to work these stitches with you so you can see how I finish up and start working in rounds. So again, I'm working the trinity stitch the same way that we've been doing it. And now I'm at my first chain, so I'm going to go right into that chain and work my trinity stitch. And you just continue working it the same way as you did for the rest of them. Now we're going to start meeting up with our first trinity stitch, so you want to make sure you go right into the same stitch that you just finished your last trinity stitch. So that's 2. Go into the next stitch, 3, and then your 4th loop should be in the chain 1 space of the previous row's trinity stitch. So if you need to skip a stitch to get to the 4th one drawing up above the trinity stitch in the previous row, you could do that. Or you could just keep working them around. It really doesn't have to line up. I just like for it to line up. And then you just continue working in rounds the same way that you've been making your trinity stitches. And you want to complete 6 rounds of trinity stitches. So go ahead, finish completing 6 rounds of trinity stitches and then come back. So you can see how I completed 6 rounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of trinity stitches. And here's the opening that I have for the ear. Now go ahead and get a yarn marker. We're going to start a decrease round. So for your first decrease round, you're going to make 3 trinity stitches. So 1 trinity stitch in each of the next 3 stitches. You make them the same way. Go into the stitch that you just finished a trinity stitch in, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, make your trinity stitch. That's 1. So now I need 1 trinity stitch into the next 2 stitches, or actually 3, I'll just say 3 trinity stitches with the chain 1. So here's my second. So you can see from my yarn marker I have 1, 2. I'm going to make 1 more. And then I'll show you how to make the decrease. It's real simple. So I'm going to make my chain 1. So now this is going to be our decrease stitch. It's made the exact same way. Go into the stitch that you just finished your last trinity stitch in. Then you're going to yarn over and go through all 4, but this time you're not going to make a chain 1. So no chain 1. Go back into the stitch that you just finished the trinity stitch in, and then make another trinity stitch. So now you're going to make another 3 trinity stitches with a chain 1. So chain 1, so that's 1. 2, chain 1, 3, chain 1. Now your next stitch you're not going to chain 1, and you're going to repeat this pattern all the way back to your yarn marker. So I'll make the last one with you without the chain 1. So you're going to make 3 trinity stitches with the chain 1, and then 1 trinity stitch without the chain 1. And then just keep repeating that all the way around back to the yarn marker. Then when you get back to the yarn marker, you just move it up, and you're going to make only 1 round of just regular trinity stitches with the chain 1. So they aren't probably going to line up, whereas your 4th loop will be in that chain 1 stitch of the previous row's trinity stitch, but that's okay. Just make your trinity stitches the way you've been doing them, but just make sure you make your chain 1. So just keep making trinity stitches all the way around, but make sure you have your chain 1 with these trinity stitches all the way around back to the yarn marker. This is how my work looks so far. Now we're going to make another round of decrease stitches. So take your yarn marker, move it up, and then you're going to make one trinity stitch with the chain 1 2 times. So 2 trinity stitches with a chain 1. So I made 2 trinity stitches with the chain 1. Now you're going to make the trinity stitch without a chain 1. And then you're just going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. I'll do one more set with you. So that was my trinity stitch without a chain 1. And because I left the chain 1 off, that's going to decrease the number of stitches for this round. So here's one with a chain 1. Here's my second. And then the next one will be a trinity stitch without a chain 1. And go ahead, repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker and then come back. Then just take and move your yarn marker up. Now you're going to make 3 rounds of trinity stitches with a chain 1. So complete 3 rounds of trinity stitches with a chain 1 and then come back. So you can see how I finished 3 rounds of trinity stitches. Now we're going to get ready to close. So you just take and move up your yarn marker, and you're just going to take and make trinity stitches without the chain 1. So you just keep making trinity stitches without a chain 1 until you're almost closed, and then come back and I'll show you how to slip stitch it closed. So keep making trinity stitches until you're almost closed and then come back. So make sure you don't make any chain 1s for these. So I made it a couple of times around back to my yarn marker. Now I'm going to remove my yarn marker. You could see that I only have, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, around 4 stitches left. So I'm going to close it now. To completely slip stitch it closed, you just skip the next stitch, go into that second stitch, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook. I'm going to probably make one more. It looks like I can slip stitch right across, and then I'm finished. So now I can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Now you're going to want to take your tapestry needle onto the loose yarn end that you had at the top of the hat, and then just bring it right through the center of the hat back towards the inside of the hat, and then just let it hang for now on the wrong side of the hat, because we're going to tie the pom-pom to that part of the hat. Now for the bottom of the hat you have a loose yarn end. I'm just going to show you, go ahead and turn your hat inside out so that the wrong side is facing you. Then just take that loose yarn end, put it onto your tapestry needle, and then you're just going to take and weave that loose yarn end through the inside of your hat. And I like to just go a couple of different directions to make sure that it's nice and buried. And then once you've buried it, then you can go ahead and trim the loose yarn end. I just leave a little bit of a loose yarn end on the inside or the wrong side of the hat. Then you can go ahead and turn it back so that the right side is facing you. And then I'm going to show you how to make the pom-pom. I use my pom-pom making device by Clover. You can get these at the craft store. So I'm just going to show you how I make my pom-pom. So you just open it up and it comes apart. So make sure it's together. And then whatever yarn that you want to use for the pom-pom, you just take and hold the yarn against the side and then just wrap the yarn against the arch until it's completely covered. Then you just take and fold that arch down, and then they have these little slots on the side where you can stick the yarn and then just trim it. Then you do the same thing for the opposite side arch, just completely cover it. Then you just take and fold that side down and then trim it. Then I just take my smaller embroidery scissors and then I just cut on the opposite side. Here's where you lift up. I just cut from the opposite side so it doesn't lift up while I'm trying to cut. I like the embroidery scissors because you can see how easy it fits right down the center. Then you just turn it over and do the same thing on the opposite arch. Then you can take those little loose yarn ends that were on the sides and just take and get rid of those. Then you just cut some yarn and take and place the yarn right in the center. Bring both ends up and then just tie a knot right down the center. Then you can take and just lift up the feet of the arches and then just pull it apart, and it's that simple. Now you have a perfect little pom-pom ready to be sewn onto your hat. Now you just take your tapestry needle onto one of the long ends off of the pom-pom, go right into the top of your hat and bring both ends of the pom-pom into the wrong side of the hat. And then you can just tie a knot on the inside. Then your sleepy hat is all finished. It's ready to be put onto the bear. So you just take your bear and you put your ear right through the hole that you made. And then you have your sleepy hat. For the blanket, you're going to take whatever color yarn you want for your blanket, fold it over on itself to form a loop. Then I took my J or 6mm crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and thumb, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for a slip knot. Then just cinch the loop around your crochet hook. Now you're going to make a chain of 25. I'm just going to show you 4 of them. Actually, a chain of 22. So a chain of 22 for this blanket. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for 1, 2 chains, 3, 4. Go ahead, finish a chain of 22 and then come back. You should have finished a chain of 22. After you finish your chain of 22, you're going to take your crochet hook, you're going to go back into the second chain from the hook, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, then you're going to go into the same stitch that you made your single crochet, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through all 4, and then chain 1 to complete your first Trinity stitch. Then go into the same stitch where you just finished your Trinity stitch and make another Trinity stitch. And you're going to do this all the way across to the other side. Just keep making Trinity stitches. Make sure that you chain 1. I'll make one more with you. I'm going to go into the same stitch that I just finished the Trinity stitch. So go ahead, finish making your Trinity stitches all the way across, and make sure that you chain 1. You can see how mine looks. I have Trinity stitches all the way across, and then now I have my last one. I'm going to show you how to make your last Trinity stitch and how to turn. Again, you're going to go into the same stitch you just finished your Trinity stitch into. You're going to make your last Trinity stitch. Now with your last Trinity stitch, you're not going to chain 1. You're going to go into that last stitch, bring up a loop, and make a single crochet. Then you can chain 1, turn your work, and then you're going to go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, then you're going to make a Trinity stitch. So you go into the same stitch you made a single crochet, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, next stitch over, bring up a loop, make your Trinity stitch, and chain 1. And you're going to repeat this all the way across. When you finish your last Trinity stitch for this row, come back and I'll work that stitch with you just to make sure that you know how to make your last Trinity stitch and then how to turn. And then come back. So now I just finished my last Trinity stitch before my last stitch. So I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to go into the same stitch, bring up a loop, and then I'm going to go into that last stitch and bring up a loop. But actually I'm going to split that stitch because I want to bring up 2 loops. So I'm going to go right into the gap there and bring up 1, and then go into the next gap and bring up another one. So you can see how I have 4 loops, then yarn over and go through all 4, and then make a single crochet into that last stitch. Then chain 1 and turn my work. I'm going to go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, and then go into that same stitch that you made a single crochet, and then repeat. Make your Trinity stitches all the way across. And then come back. So now you can see this is how my work looks. I'm back on the end. I have 1 more stitch left. I'm going into the same stitch I just finished my last Trinity stitch. Go into the next stitch, and now this time it matches up perfectly. Single crochet on the end, chain 1, turn your work, single crochet into the next stitch over, and repeat. And you're going to do this until you have the size that you want for your blanket. And when you come back, I'll show you how many rows that I made for my blanket. This is what mine looks like so far. You can see how it has perfect edges all the way around, which is what you want. And I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. Actually, it's a little bit more than 8 rows, but when I count the actual designs, I have 8 rows of those designs. But you can make as many rows as you want for your blanket. When you're finished, in the corner, you're just going to make a chain of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After you finish your chain of 8, then you're going to slip stitch into the same stitch. So go into that same stitch, yarn over, and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Now you can go ahead and bury your loose yarn ends and then come back. Then you can take your blanket and put the loop onto your bearer's hand. And then your sleepy bear has a little blanket. Now I'm going to show you the differences if you're using the pipsqueak yarn for the sleepy bear. First, you're going to make the snout the same way that you did for the regular sleepy bear with the regular yarn. You would make the snout the exact same way. For the head, you're going to use your J or 6mm crochet hook, and you're going to start with the magic circle. So you start the same way for the magic circle, holding it the same way. Then you're just going to take your J crochet hook, bring up a loop, yarn over, go through that loop for your slip knot, and now you want to make sure that the loop is not too tight on your crochet hook. You kind of want the stitches to be a little loose. Then you just go into your magic circle, make a single crochet. You're going to make 6 single crochet. So then, after you make your 6 single crochet, you just hold the base of the 6 single crochet with your forefinger and thumb. You still have those 2 loops. On the opposite side, you just take and pull on one of them. If it doesn't close, let go and pull on the other one. And then just loosely close it. You can always close it more later if you need to. Then just take and pull on the loose yarn end to close that. And then you just turn your work. Now you can see why it's difficult to work with this yarn, because you cannot see the stitches as you work. So if you love the way this yarn looks, you can practice with your regular yarn so you get to know where the stitches are. Then you can attempt to use this yarn. So now you're going to make 2 single crochet into every stitch around. So you take your crochet hook and go into that first stitch, making sure that you go into both loops. Let me make sure I've got both loops. Yeah, there we go. So both loops, and then you're just going to make 2 single crochet into every stitch around. So with this yarn, you're just kind of working in the next stitch because you can't really see it. Some people like to feel the stitch, but for me, I just go right into the next stitch over. I just go in with my crochet hook, and I'm working 2 single crochet into every stitch around. And you're going to continue making 2 single crochet in every stitch around until you have a total of 23 or 24 stitches. So to help you keep track, what you can do is just take a yarn marker and place it right where you leave off, and then you're just making 2 single crochet in every stitch all the way back to the yarn marker, and you can kind of keep track of how many stitches. So that's 2. I'm going 2 into the next stitch, that'd be 4 total. And you want to keep working until you have around 23 or 24 stitches. So go ahead and keep making 2 stitches into every stitch around. When you reach the yarn marker, you can move it up to help you keep track of how many stitches that you're making. And you'll notice that it'll, as you're making 2 single crochet into every stitch, it's going to get larger and larger, which is what you want. And then for mine, the size that I liked was when I got to around 23 or 24 stitches. So again, just move up and continue working 2 single crochet into every stitch until you get the 23 or 24 stitches, and then come back. So for mine, I ended up with 26 stitches for that round, which is okay. But now, for every round that I make, I should have 26 or close to 26 stitches. You don't want more than that because you're just going to keep getting larger and larger. So you want to keep your stitches at or around what you just finished. So whether it be 22, 24, 26. So for mine, I'm going to try to keep mine 26. So I'm going to only make 1 single crochet in every stitch around until I've completed 4 rounds. And I'm going to try and keep my stitches at around 26 because that's what I ended up on my last round. Then you can see how I have a little bit of a cup shape, which is exactly what you want. I finished my 4 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now you're going to position your snout onto the head, and we're going to sew it in place with our tapestry needle. Make sure you don't tangle up with your loop. We're going to come back to close the head later. So now you just take and place the snout onto the head, and you can leave the bottom portion hanging down so the bottom of the nose is lined up with the bottom of the snout. And then we're just going to sew the top portion on first. So go ahead and go through the back of the snout. You're not sewing it to the head yet because you only want to sew the top portion on. Tuck your loose yarn end into the inside, and then once you get to the top, you can go ahead and go through the head and make sure that you keep the snout so that the nose and mouth are straight. And then you're sewing the top part of the snout only to the head. So around 4 stitches at the top, and making sure you don't tangle with your brown yarn. And then once you've sewn the top couple of stitches in place, then you can take and move the snout up so that it lines up with the bottom of the head. So move the snout, bunch it up. Then you can finish sewing it in place. Go through the bottom and sew it in place before you sew the sides. So line up the bottom and then just sew the bottom in place. And then once you have the top and bottom in place, sewn in place, then you can finish sewing the sides of the snout. So then you just take and finish sewing down the side of the snout along the edge. So go ahead, finish this sewing the snout in place, and then come back. Then you're ready to sew the eyes in place. Then you just take and sew on the eyelashes the exact same way that you do for the other Sleepy Bear. So sewn on the exact same way. Then once you have the sleepy eyes sewn in place, go ahead and go back to where you left off. Make one more round of 1 single crochet in every stitch around. When you get to the snout, you're just going to go right in the stitches below the snout. So you just take and grab the brown yarn stitch, and make a single crochet all the way across. And when you get back to the yarn marker, come back and I'll show you what to do next. Then just move your yarn marker up, and we're going to make our first decrease round. For our first decrease round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 3 stitches. And then you're going to make your decrease stitch. So you go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, then yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a decrease stitch. Then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So 1 single crochet into 1 stitch, 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, 1 single crochet into your 3rd stitch, and then your decrease stitch. And then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Then go ahead and stuff the head of the bear. Then you can go ahead and take your yarn marker out, because now you're just going to make decrease stitches until you're almost closed. So you just go into your next stitch, bring up a loop, next stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3, and then you're just going to keep repeating that, just decrease stitches all the way around until you're almost closed, and then come back and I'll show you how to slip stitch it closed. Now you can see this is how my head looks so far. I have just a few more stitches left, so what I'm going to do is just skip a stitch, go into the next stitch, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. And then you're just going to repeat that all the way around until the head is closed. So one more should do it for me. Actually, it's already closed, so I'm going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into the head. And then you just bury the loose yarn in the same way that you did for the other bear. And then the body is made the same way as the head. Then the arms and the feet are made the exact same way. You use your 4mm crochet hook, and then when you get to the color change, you just go into the next stitch over and bring up a loop, and then you're going to use your 6mm crochet hook. And that's the only difference. Everything else is the same thing. And then you grab your pipsqueak yarn, bring it through, chain 1, then you just cut your previous colored yarn, tie a knot. So that's the only difference, is that you use the F crochet or 4mm crochet hook to start the exact same way, and then you just take your J crochet hook and then you just make one single crochet in every stitch around. And remember that for the legs you want 12 single crochet, so you do your best to keep the 12 single crochet as you're working around. Until you have the length that you want for your leg or your arm. So for my leg, I made 8 rounds of one single crochet in every stitch, and there were 12 stitches around, and then I would slip stitch into the next stitch over, just like I did with the other Sleepy Bear, and then just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the leg onto your bear. And then you're going to need 2 of the feet. Now for the arms, again, you start the exact same way with your 4mm crochet hook, and then you're going to switch to your 6mm crochet hook, and then you just bring up the pipsqueak yarn. Then you can chain 1 and then tie a knot the exact same way, and then you just do the exact same thing, just one single crochet into every stitch around, and you're going to try to keep 8 stitches around for about 7 or 8 rounds. For mine, I just finished 7 rounds. Then, same thing, just slip stitch it off and then finish off. And then the rest of the bear is made the exact same way. So you sew on the arms and the legs the exact same way. You need 2 of each of those, and then sew them onto your bear. And then everything else is the same.